And Mr. Colby, in the unclassified NDS that, again, was just issued about a month ago, on page 11, it states, quote, "The Iran's regime is weaker and more vulnerable than it has been in decades, and that their axis of resistance is similarly devastated." For anyone who understands the English language, your department clearly, explicitly downgraded the threat that Iran poses to our nation. Yet suddenly on February 28th, just a few weeks later, that all changed. Epic Fury was launched. 6 service members have lost their lives because of, in my opinion, a gross failure of force protection. And there still is no coherent explanation of what caused the change and what is the end game. And that's why if you look at public opinion polls over the last week, across the board, there's been no rally around the flag reaction by the American public. First of all, they kind of took you at your word, and the president at his word when he said that the nuclear threat was obliterated just a few months ago. And now suddenly we're engaged in a war which, again, for a lot of people, feels very much like past experiences which didn't end very well. I want to also, for a moment, just focus on the NDS's sort of almost insulting comments about burden sharing by our European allies in NATO. Again, when you laid out in the NDS what are the homeland security threats, what's the threats in the Western Hemisphere, there's not a word in there about the fact that Putin, even in the middle of the Ukraine war, has still been increasing his investment in its nuclear forces. General Giat from the Northern Command, when he testified this past year in 2025, when he was asked the question, again, in a public setting, what are the threats to the homeland, made it very clear that the bomber fleet sorties that the Russians have been conducting over the North Atlantic coastline, that submarine patrols, there was a port visit in Cuba, and again, there's no question that for some of us who have had the briefings, this is something that actually has been accelerating over the last few years or so. Not a mention, not a syllable in the NDS in terms of the Western Hemisphere threats that, again, you posted there. In terms of burden sharing, as the Norwegian Prime Minister pointed out to President Trump not too long ago, he stated that the Russians' nuclear arsenal is 100 kilometers from its border on the Kola Peninsula. They are the eyes and ears for the United States of America in terms of patrols that go in and out from that region. They invested some serious money before President Trump was president in purchasing P-8s to conduct those ASW patrols. Denmark, UK, France, Greenland, Iceland, Canada, all of them are part of the effort to protect the U.S. homeland. And again, the Premier made it very clear that arsenal is not aimed at Norway, it's aimed at us. So when is there going to be a recognition by your NDS about the fact that really, I think probably the most existential threat to the homeland has, over the years, decades really, been a team effort with our European allies, which they have gladly contributed to, even though for them it's not their number one closest security threat.
Well, thanks, sir. Maybe I could refer to you page 12 of the document. It says Iran's leaders, although it's suffered severe setbacks, it appears intent on reconstituting its conventional military forces, and Iran's leaders have also left open the possibility they will try again to obtain a nuclear weapon. I won't go much further, but obviously the threat of Iran is countenanced in here, and we talk about the burden sharing piece, but also the ability of the president to use force. And then, sir, on page 10 about Russia, the document says Russia also possesses the world's largest nuclear arsenal, which it continues to modernize and diversify, as well as undersea space and cyber capabilities that it can employ against the U.S. homeland. So, sir, obviously this is also the unclassified version, so I don't need to.
Well, I've read the classified. I've actually read the classified.
Demonstrably here.
I've read the classified version. It is radically different from the briefings that we've gotten from Northcom and EUCOM over the years.
I can't possibly agree with that.
Well,
it fully
I actually
incorporates
think
that. We take those threats very seriously, sir.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you don't give credit where credit is due in terms of our allies that, again,
Our allies are
standing
making
up.
tons of progress. I saw it in Europe. We're moving out.
Again, this
We're
this
getting down to
preceded
business, sir.
Trump. Really, again, I have the
Success has many
I have
fathers,
the
sir.
submarine base in Groton where those patrols are happening. Again, that collaboration has been going on for
Absolutely.
many years.
We think alliances are actually important and not just symbols, sir. That's the hack for what we're doing. And
Well, they do
it's
too.
working, sir.
They do too.
Indeed.
That's what's
I agree.
missing in your NDS.
It's working, sir.
Gentlemen,